No. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about she was making phone calls trying to get people to not certify the election.
I think there's not anything wrong with the partners of justices being involved in political things. And the thing is, with the certification of the election, I understand you've called us election deniers. You've called us like you vehemently believe it's like a disgusting thing to believe that Biden didn't win. And I'm risking my YouTube channel by talking about this at all. But there are people who disagree. There's people who look at the 19 bellwether counties. There's people who look at the changes in the Pennsylvania law. There's people who look at the random influxes of votes in 6 states where they randomly stop counting, and the pulling out of the bins in Georgia, and the like. You can look at all of these issues and say, okay, this is a political issue that I care about, and therefore I want to make phone calls. I don't think that makes you an insurrectionist. I don't think that makes your partner incapable of being unbiased. I don't think that really.
I mean, here's the point. Here's the point I'm trying to make in regards to the election stuff. I talk to my viewers on my channel. I've seen 2000 Mules half a dozen times. I've had shows on it. We've had the Durham Report. Mike Lindell's Cyber Symposium. All 3 days of that, I watched that. The point I tell my viewers is that, like when you watch Dinesh D'Souza's 2000 Mules, I believe he presented a good case that some election fraud took place. The problem I have is automatically assuming in a country where you got 70-some million voting for Trump, a little bit more voting for Biden, you're talking well over 150 million voters. The problem I have is the assumption that all of the cheaters are Democrat. That's where I'm saying I can agree that there may have been election fraud. What I don't agree is that only the Democrats cheated and Trump somehow won by a landslide. I think everyone that has pointed out election fraud, from ballot harvesting and things like that, have proven that some fraud took place. They have not proven that all of that fraud is Democratic fraud.
Have you noticed that Democrats, though, say that, voter ID is racist and all these things to secure elections?
That's BS.
Okay, so only Democrats are the ones proposing policies that make elections less secure. They're the only ones who want the mass mail-out voting. They want longer voting. They want earlier voting. They want more drop boxes. They want no signatures. There's a litany of things that would make elections less secure. And that's only on the Democrat side. So I think that's why conservatives believe, that if there was.
But you'd have to admit, if the Democrats want stuff that makes the elections less secure, that opens up the avenue for Republicans to still use those methods to cheat too. And that's the point I'm saying, is that why do we automatically assume that no Republican is savvy enough to cheat and it's just all Democratic cheaters? You can prove that looks like some cheating took place. You can't prove that it's 100% Democrat. And that's where the problem is. And then when you watch movies or documentaries like Dinesh D'Souza, or even when you listen to Trump, all of the concern is only in Democratic areas. Like Dinesh D'Souza went to Arizona, but he only went to Phoenix. He went to Wisconsin, but he really only went to Milwaukee. What about northern Wisconsin in the Republican areas? Did you check the ballot boxes there? No, we only really concerned in Democratic areas. So even the investigations they were doing comes across as bias.
Yeah, I think the reason being is because I'm so sorry. I got a new computer. My phone is off, but the dinging on my computer is on. I don't know how to turn that off. But you could see that the investigation would go into the party that's proposing the ability to open the avenues for cheating, whereas you might not investigate the person as thoroughly if they're trying to close those avenues of cheating. You wouldn't assume that the person trying to close the avenues of cheating are using those avenues.
That makes sense if it's one person, but based on what we're talking about, the Democratic Party, in your opinion, we're trying to make it easier to have a less secure election. The Republicans are trying to make it more secure. That's the parties. But Republican voters could easily use those same methods. Every Republican wasn't involved in the fight to make voter ID and all. Some people just want to vote. So it was plenty of room for Republicans to use any avenue of making the elections less secure that a Democrat could have used. We're just assuming because the Democrats voted one way that no Republican would cheat. And like I said, you're talking about tens of millions of people. You can't make an assumption that all Republicans are honest and all Democrats are cheaters. There's no way to do that.
I'm mostly looking at Biden and Trump. Like Biden wanted open mass mail out, longer times to count, and even his staff before election night said, oh, we won't know the results for a few days and there'll be, so that just seemed odd. Like it just seems odd. And
I could agree with that.
Want to investigate the other side as thoroughly when Trump is saying, I don't want mass mail out. I only want 1 day of voting. I want everybody to vote on 1 day, and I want to know the results after. And
that's not his call to make, though. You can't if the states can legally have mail-in voting, even though you believe that it should be ID right here at this place and done this way. That's fine that you believe that, but you can't make everybody do what you think is the most secure. You got the military have been mailing in their votes for over 100 years. So you can't force people, even though you might believe it's the most secure, you can't force them to do it your way. And also, how does that work for somebody who might be at home disabled and want to vote? I mean, do they have to come down and find a way to get in and vote as well? I agree with the ID part. That I agree. Everybody should have an ID. But I don't see an issue with casting ballots in other manners, in other ways, other than just simply having to come down. If you can do your taxes online, you can trade millions of dollars and move money online. You can buy a house online. I don't see why you need to physically come to a voting place and vote that way, because that's not safe when I can transfer millions of dollars online. I don't get that.